Good day, citizens. I am Mia Magdalis, one of the anchors for today's art report, and this is all about romantic painting. The kingdoms of the French Revolution were ruled by idealism in the 1700s. Not until Romanticism emerged as a reaction to the battle for liberty, equality, and justice. In art compositions, events from this period were highlighted. Humans and the beauty of nature, as well as its strength and temperament, were painters' subjects in romantic painting. During this time, plein air painting became quite popular. Plein air painting is a method of painting that allows artists to paint outdoors.
There are two major types of romantic painting. One, figure painting. As you can see, the primary subjects used in this style are human depicted figures. 2. Landscape painting. The primary subject used in this style is the environment. This style of painting emerged in France and was soon adopted by England. Both styles are unique on their own, and both are well respected, especially when individually they have so many details. In some paintings, humans were given more emphasis than the landscape. Some artists prefer to highlight nature to show its power over humans, and evoke feelings of awe and terror from the viewers.
This was further connected in a 1757 book, The Philosophical Inquiry by Edmund Burke, which talked about the experiences of awe, terror, and danger of nature. He saw nature as the most sublime object, with its ability to draw out strong sensations and emotions from the audience. He was a British and Irish statesman known to a wide public as a classic political thinker. Denis Diderot, a French philosopher, also said, "All that stuns the soul, all that imprints a feeling of terror, leads to the sublime." This view of nature influenced many romantic artists to paint representations of man's struggle against the power of nature. He served as chief editor of the Encyclopedia, one of the principal works of the Age of Enlightenment. Now, let us talk about some artists that rose during this time that will be discussed with our co-anchors.
Eugene Delacroix was born on April 26, 1798, in Charenton, Saint-Maurice, France. His father died when he was just 7. His mother was the one who cultivated his love for literature and arts. She sadly died when Delacroix was just 16. His uncle stepped in and sponsored him so he can train under Pierre Narcisse Guérin. As a young painter, he started working with religious themes before he shifted to historical events. He was considered as the greatest French Romantic painter. He used small, interconnected strokes of varying colors to achieve bold visual effects. In his masterpiece, Liberty Leading the People, which he curated in 1830, he depicted both the glory and the destruction of the French Revolution. In his painting, Delacroix used a pyramidal composition, chiaroscuro, and color to create drama that emphasizes heroism, death, and suffering. These three are the archetypes of romantic themes. Delacroix also embodied the romantic attitude, which influences plenty of modern artists.
John Maynard William Turner is considered to be England's greatest romantic painter. His works often have dense and dreamlike feel. He slowly veered away from physical realism, focused on rich textures of mist and light, which eventually led to the rise of modern art. His first oil painting, Fisherman at Sea, was a signal of his ambition to become a painter and not to be known as just a photographer. His later works have a diverse subject matter: history, literature, and myth. These subject matters challenged classical styles and made further technique advancement.
Constable was also a renowned English Romantic artist and was a notable painter of idyllic rural England. He was one of the best landscape painters throughout the 19th century. He mainly focused on his native countryside and the east coast Suffolk. His earlier paintings have characteristics of the bright, clear setting and direct realism as opposed to Turner's dense and distorted works. His compositions are influences of classical characteristics. His usual subjects are paintings of everyday life, which were unfashionable back then, as patrons looked for romantic versions of lush landscapes and ruins. Constable's known masterpiece is the Hay Wain from 1821.
Heinrich Fuseli, or Johann Heinrich Fuseli, is a Swiss Romantic painter. He is famous for his paintings, as well as for his violent drawings of nude human figures with passionate emotions. His famous painting, The Nightmare of 1781, was thought to be bizarre and macabre. His combination of horror, sexuality, and death inspired writers, Mary Shelley and Edgar Allan Poe. Fuseli developed an interest in Shakespeare's literary works, as he was drawn to theatrical subjects. He painted a number of works for John Bodell's Shakespeare Gallery. A younger contemporary, William Blake, was inspired by Fuseli's paintings.
William Blake is an English engraver, artist, poet, and visionary. He was only recognized as the earliest and the most original of the Romantic poets. During his time, he was either dismissed or regarded as a mad person. Blake started as an engraver and was commissioned to engrave his designs. He portrayed spirits with real bodies in a radical and novel style. A British critic describes his work as distorted and absurd. Blake's best-known engravings were those commissioned for Robert Blair's poem, The Grave, from 1808. His most ambitious work is The Ancient Britons, which depicts the last battle of King Arthur. Although the painting is lost, it is said to be 14 feet wide by 10 feet tall. It is the largest painting Blake ever did.
Caspar David Friedrich is a German painter. He sought to capture experience God, nature, and its magnificence. He painted landscapes with profound religious and spiritual magnitude. He believed that through the beauty and majesty of nature, God could truly be experienced. He depicted nature in sunny and foggy vistas, and he also interrogated spiritual significance with landscape painting. Friedrich even gave the viewers the opportunity to experience and reflect on God's presence. His paintings have elements of mist, fog, darkness, and light. An example of his painting is The Cross in the Mountains, 1807. Now, let us talk about how the Romantic painting impacts its importance.
As mentioned, Romantic art was a movement and protest against the idealism of the French Revolution. It expressed freedom, emotions, feelings of all kinds spiritually, imagination, mystery, and fervor, the major elements of Romanticism. Emphasize and allow artists to have the sense and emotions that may help comprehend the experience of life on earth. Did not rely on solely on logic and logic alone. Romanticism embrace of individual imagination and intuition reflected an enduring yearning for human rights and liberty.
According to Romanticism, individual and artistic achievements had the capacity to raise society. Therefore, their example was elevated. It also validated the individual imagination as a belief to lead, allowing artists to experiment with new forms without regard for existing classical conventions. Its art techniques are still observed in today's modern art. This was the era where the brushwork became looser and less precise, which hugely depicts the sense of individualism. Without this era, our modern art wouldn't be the same as we know it now. Thank you for watching. This is Alcontin, and on behalf of my fellow co-anchors, we hope you have learned and grown on your perspectives toward Romantic painting. This is Art3 News. Till then, good day!